Hello, I'm Jantien Powell. This is Chapel Cottage Studio. I'm going to talk to you today about composing your pictures, because we all use our own photographs to make paintings of. I do love to paint outside, but the British weather isn't wonderful, so quite often I end up working in the studio from photographs. And I quite like drawing animals, and they don't stay still for long, so I generally use photographs. But we all go out and take photographs and they're not particularly interesting. They're not wonderful to take paintings from. So we have to learn how to choose a composition. And I have a couple of photographs here. This is just a little line of cows that I took that were looking at me through the hedge when I went for a walk. Now on their own, that's a fairly boring photograph. But I've chosen to enlarge a piece of it to see what I can make of it. So I've got another piece of it here that's a bit bigger. And now I can see I've got two cows in a painting that's a little bit more interesting, but it's still not right. So I'm going to use these little frames. I just cut them out of cardboard. Two little L shapes, very, very useful because I can go from a tiny frame to a great big frame with them and decide what I want to use. And if I put them on here, I can first of all frame the whole thing. And I think, well, it's okay. I don't know that I like it that much. So if I come in a bit, if I get rid of that bottom cow and focus on the top one, I do like cows, I paint a lot of cows. Focus on the top one, we've got a bit of a nicer picture there, but I feel that there's too much body. So I'm going to go in again. I'm going to make a little square of that cow's face. This isn't quite square, and again, I don't like this chunky shape over here. So I'm going to move it in on that side. Now I'm starting to like this composition, but I feel that there's too much space all around it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move this side in so that the cow's head isn't right in the middle, but it's off to one side. And that pleases me a lot more. I like that. That's a nice little square composition. It's got a nice, curious cow looking out at me. It's got a little bit of the back in here. The ear is cut off on that side, and there's a hole here and a gap on that side, which means it's not just sat right in the centre, it's a little bit off centre, which is always better than having things right in the middle of a picture. What I want to tell you, a very important part of composition. The cow is our picture. The cow is a shape by here. Very obvious. However, the background, the space around the cow is also a shape. And there's a big shape here that goes along the top. And there's a little shape here. Now, if I move this frame and put the cow right in the middle again, this background shape isn't as interesting. It takes up too much of the picture. And it's all one great big shape. If I move it back to where I've allowed my composition to be, my background is now cut into two shapes, one big shape and one little shape. And that creates a balance in your painting. So whenever you're making a composition, please, please, please look at the background shapes, because the whole picture is just a collection of shapes on a canvas. And every shape in that picture has to be equally interesting. And we tend to look at the object and forget the background. If you can make your background shape interesting, your picture is going to work. So I've moved the cow to the one side so that the cow is a nice shape and the background is a lovely collection of two shapes. That's going to be my composition. Whatever painting you're going to do, look at the shapes. If you're doing a landscape, how much sky is there compared to land? Do you have something to break the horizon and break the sky up into shapes? Look at your negative spaces. Make sure that they work to create a nice harmony of shapes on your picture. Okay, so I've got my composition for my little cows. I'm going to draw a line around that so that I can take my little frame away. There we are. There's my composition. I've cut a huge amount of the photograph out. And having decided on that, my next stage is to decide on colours for my painting. I've got the composition I like. How am I going to fill it in? Well, this is a black and white cow. I don't want a monochrome black and white painting. So I'm going to think, what colours can I use to create a black and white cow? The ones I like is ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. If you mix those two colours together, you will create a black, but it's a black that has warmth and colour to it. A very interesting black. And then I need to make some highlights on the black because this cow has lots of lit bits. So I have to create some highlights on it. Then I have to wonder about what colours to use for the white areas. I don't want it to be flat white. So we have to arrange colours for the shadows. And I'll use the same two, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. I'm going to add some turquoise and some pink, I think. Okay, so here's my colour mixture. This is ultramarine blue with burnt sienna. This one has more burnt sienna in it to make it almost black. These are going to be my highlight colours. Beautiful deep turquoise mixed with some white, permanent rose mixed with some white, and a little bit of cadmium yellow. These are going to create my colours on the whites and on the darks. So this is actually my whole colour range for the cow. I know you don't see pinks, so you don't see turquoise when you look at animals, but you can paint it there because this is the joy of painting, is that you can do whatever you want, create some excitement. Now, if I just explain those colours by turning to a colour wheel, here we are. Here's our colour wheel. The colour wheel consists of red, blue and yellow in the middle. It's very, very easy to remember. These three are primary colours. You can't make them out of anything. You have to buy the colours, you can't mix them. Outside these colours are secondary colours. Here we have orange, which is a mix of red and yellow. Here we have green, which is a mix of blue and yellow. And here we have purple, which is a mix of blue and red. Now you can see, if we look at the orange, where it starts, it's got a lot of red in it. Where it finishes, it's got a lot of yellow in it. The green, where it starts, has a lot of yellow in it. Where it finishes, there's a lot of blue in it, etc. The purple is very bluey and changes to very red. This is all you need to know about the colour wheel. Everything else you can figure out. And as long as you can remember blue, red, yellow, then you can remember what these are. Keep it in your head. Now, a lot of people know the colour wheel, but they don't know what it's used for. And what we're looking for is contrasting colours and harmonious colours. The contrasting colours are called complementary colours, and they are opposite each other on the colour wheel. Now, I like to think of it so that this red has a point by here, and the red is pointing at the green, which makes those two complements. The yellow is pointing at the purple, which makes those two complements. The blue is pointing at the orange. Those are your complementary colours. Now, if you put them next to each other, the blue is going to make the orange look orangier. The orange is going to make the blue look bluer, so they complement each other. If they're next to each other, they create a more harmonious colour. So if you put the red next to the purple, next to the blue on your painting, it's more of a harmony, less of a contrast. When we look at the colours that we've chosen, we've got blues, we've got pinks, we got a little bit of yellow. So everything is around this side of the colour wheel. They're all harmonious because they're all running into one another. So all the colours that we use on the cow, from the burnt siennas out here, through the blues, round to the yellow, they're all next to each other on the colour wheel. Now when I want to think of a background colour for my painting, because I like bright colours, I want something that's going to really complement them. So if all my cow colours are by here, my background colour is going to be orange. So this is how I've chosen my colours. If I go back to them on this side, these are around one side of the colour wheel to make the cow. Then I'm going to go to the complete opposite and have the orange for the other side. Right, so now when you get your photographs, look at them, chop them up, decide what bits to leave out, what bits to leave in. Decide where to crop it. Look at your background shapes and decide to make all the shapes interesting on your picture. Then start to think about your colours. And if you sit down before you paint and spend a half an hour thinking about all these things, you're setting yourself up to succeed. Thank you very much.